You're working on your creative business, not just scrolling or procrastinating, but you've been at your desk for hours. You've got a list of things that you've been moving through. Maybe you've posted something, you've replied to some emails, and at some point late in the afternoon, you sit back and you think, what did I actually do today? Like, what moved my business forward? And probably the answer is not much. Not because you weren't working, but because being busy in the day-to-day and making progress are not the same thing. And for a really long time, I was very, very good at being busy. And if that sounds familiar, if you've had that specific feeling of a full, exhausting day, but somehow didn't move anything forward, then this video is for you, because I want to walk you through the 5-part system that completely changed how I run my creative business. And this isn't a productivity hack or a magical morning routine. It's a proper framework that you can actually use, and by the end of this you'll have something you can take away and start building with straight away. And the reason that really busy day but nothing moving forward kept happening, for me at least, was that I had no external system holding any of it. So let me show you what changed that and how I actually run my business now. And I'm not just going to tell you about it, I'm going to show you. So system 1, goals. So I'm using Artova to house my entire business, but you can use whatever planning tool works for you. The important thing isn't the tool, it's having somewhere that your goals actually live, like somewhere visible that you can come back to regularly, rather than something that you write down in January and then never look at again. Because with any planning or any list of tasks, you need to know what you're actually working towards. And I think this is the step that most creative business owners skip, not because they don't care about their goals, but because goals can feel a bit abstract and overwhelming to sit down and actually write out properly. But this is one of the most useful things that I've done for my business, because when your goals are visible with actual action steps on how they're going to be achieved, everything else starts to organize itself around them. So your tasks stop becoming random and your weeks stop feeling reactive, because you take anything you're doing in your business and you ask, does this task move me towards this goal? So in Artova, the goals are broken down into layers: yearly, quarterly, monthly, and short term. And I want to show you how I actually use this, because I think seeing it in practice is so much more useful than me just describing it. So what I love about having my goals broken down this way is that it makes the big ones feel so much less overwhelming. So a yearly goal on its own feels massive and vague and honestly a bit paralyzing. But when you break it down, okay, what does this mean for this quarter? And what does this mean for this month? And suddenly it becomes something you can actually work with. And the bit that I think is the most useful part of all of this is that once a goal exists here, it becomes something I can break down into actual next steps. So it stops being something really vague, like growing my email list, and it becomes a set of real visible actions I can actually do, which is like the difference between a goal that happens and one that just lives in your head forever. So as I'm filling this out, I'd really encourage you to do the same, either in Artova or wherever you keep your business planning, because everything else I'm going to show you works so much better when it has a goal underneath it. So that's the goal sorted, but there's something that will derail you if you don't have a system for it, and that's the ideas. System 2, stop letting your ideas interrupt your business. So next thing I want to show you is what I do with all my ideas, because this is the thing that was keeping me up at night long before I had a system for it. And I don't just mean big ideas, I mean the constant stream of small ideas too. A new product, a new video topic, a real concept, something you want to tweak on your website, the kind that arrives at a really inconvenient time and it demands your attention, whether you're ready for them or not. And one of the habits that has made the biggest difference for me recently is something really simple. Instead of writing random ideas in my notes app on my phone, I put them straight into the brain dump in Artova. And I'll be honest here, it's taken me a little while to get into this habit, because for years I've written a mix of everything into my notes app. Like some of the stuff in there, I don't even remember what it means or what it was for. But I'm so glad I started this new habit, because instead of one endless pile of random thoughts, I can categorize categorize ideas, move them into folders, and give them a status. And something about having that structure just makes my brain feel so much calmer. Let's say you're working on something, you're making progress, and then you have an idea, maybe for a new product, a video topic, a real concept, a freebie that you could create to grow your email list. You're a creative and your brain is just wired this way. The ideas just feel urgent and exciting and important. You're genuinely worried that if you don't capture it right now, it'll disappear. So you either drop what you're doing and you follow it, which means the thing that you are actually working on doesn't get finished, or you try and hold that idea in your head while you finish your task, which means that you're doing neither thing properly and you probably lose the idea anyway. So the teaching here is really simple, but it makes an enormous difference. Every idea needs somewhere to go, but not every idea deserves your attention today. Those are two separate things, and I think a lot of people merge them into one. So the system is your brain dump, your idea bank, but not just one endless pile where everything lives equally and then nothing is ever actionable. You need categories. Active ideas, which are the things you're actually working on or planning to work on soon. Later ideas, which might be the things with real potential that just aren't for this season. So you could categorize your boards into content ideas, product ideas, launch ideas, things you want to explore at some point, but not yet. Because when everything is in one undifferentiated list, it's overwhelming and nothing moves. But when your ideas have a home and a status, you can capture freely without it derailing your day. And your brain can actually let go because it knows the idea is somewhere safe. Then there's the on your mind board. So that's pinned right at the top as soon as you open it, and it becomes my version of the back of the napkin moment. Like if I'm in a rush or an idea comes to me while I'm on the school run, I just drop it in there quickly and move on. And then later, when I actually have 5 minutes to think, I can go back into it and move things into the right place. So nothing gets lost and my focus stays intact. But capturing the idea is only half of it, because I think we've all got this graveyard of ideas somewhere, the things we wrote down, got excited about, and then nothing happened. And the bit that actually makes the difference is what happens next. And I think that's actually the thing that separates the creatives who follow through on their ideas from the ones who don't. And it's not talent or motivation or even time, because most of us are pretty good at the ideas. We're just not always good at knowing what to actually do with them next. The habit I've been building, and this is the bit I'd really encourage you to think about, like whatever system you're using, is that when an idea feels ready, I try to give it a next step. It doesn't need to be a full plan or an entire project, just one step, because that one thing is what moves it from someday to actually happening. Now in Artova, I can do that by clicking convert and turn an idea straight into a task, which then appears in my task manager, which sounds small, but it genuinely changes how many ideas I actually follow through on. So that is the ideas captured and organized, but having a tidy system doesn't automatically tell you what to actually work on next. So system 3 is the needle mover system. Stop confusing busy work with progress. So system 3 is probably the most important shift in the whole framework, and this has taken me longer than I'd like to admit to really internalize. So there are tasks that feel productive and there are tasks that actually move your business forward, and they are not always the same thing. And the tricky part is that the tasks that feel productive can be really convincing. Like maybe you found yourself reorganizing your studio because if you just have a fresh, inspiring space, the ideas will follow. Or maybe you've spent an hour choosing a new font for your website or hiding your desktop folders when you've actually got a launch to plan. And I'm not saying that those things are totally worthless. Like sometimes they do need doing, but there have been a lot of days where they became the thing that I did instead of the harder, more important thing. And I think that's because they feel manageable and satisfying in a way that the harder thing doesn't, especially on the days where my energy was lower or maybe my confidence was taking a bit of a wobble. And I had a really specific moment of realization around this that I think will land for a lot of you. So I had a morning where I batched a load of Instagram carousels. I had a list, I worked through it, I felt productive, I ticked things off, and by lunchtime, I felt like I had a good work session. And then I sat back and I thought about where my reach actually is coming from. I was thinking about where the trust was being built and where the sales were actually coming from. And the actual answer for me was YouTube, not Instagram. And this might look totally different for you, but for me, YouTube is the thing that's compounding, finding new people and supporting the business in a way that kept going even when I stepped back. So a better use of my time that morning might have been planning the next few YouTube videos, not because Instagram doesn't matter. I still love that platform for connecting with people, but I wasn't really being honest with myself about where my effort was actually moving the needle. So what I do now, and this is something that you can apply, is separate my tasks into 3 simple groups before I start my day. The things I must do today, which are the needle movers that are directly connected to my current goals. Then there's the things I should do today if I can get to them. And finally, the things that I could do, which are the nice to haves, the tweaks, the things that I want to do but can also wait. Now, of course, some of your must do tasks are going to be the maintenance side of your business, and that's completely normal. You need to pack orders, you need to reply to customer emails. That stuff matters and it has to happen, but the key is making sure that the maintenance tasks aren't taking up the whole day at the expense of everything else. So if you've got a morning of packing orders, try to protect even a small pocket of time that builds the business too, like uploading a listing or writing an email to your list, like something that can keep working beyond today, because the maintenance keeps the business running, obviously, but the needle movers are what make it grow. System 4 is the bigger picture. Stop planning your business one random day at a time. So here is a question I want you to think about honestly. How do you decide what to work on each day? For a really long time, my answer was essentially I'd sit down, look at what was urgent, think about what I'd been meaning to do, maybe check my phone for anything that I'd noted down, and then start working on whatever felt most pressing or most manageable in the moment. And that sounds reasonable. It sounds like planning, but what it actually was reacting. I was reacting to the most urgent thing, the most visible thing, or the thing that felt most approachable on a particular morning, not to any kind of bigger picture or a season or a goal or a launch timeline, just whatever was loudest that day. And the problem with that is that your daily tasks become completely disconnected from anything bigger. You're not building towards anything specific, you're just managing whatever's in front of you. And it means that a lot of the work you do is random. It's not bad or wrong, it's just random and untethered, so it's not really part of a direction. So the big picture system is about planning in layers. And once this clicked for me, it changed the shape of my whole working week. So the outermost layer is your year or your season. What launches, campaigns, products, or focus periods are you coming up with? What are you actually building over the next few months? This doesn't have to be a rigid plan, it can shift and evolve, but having some sense of the bigger shape of the next season means that everything underneath it has context. Then monthly, in order to achieve those bigger picture goals, what needs to be built, filmed, written, or promoted this month specifically, given what's coming in the season ahead? What are the things that need to move forward this month for the season's goals to actually be reachable? Then weekly, what are the actual action steps given the month's needs? And then today, what is the single most important next thing given everything I've just said? And the transformation that happens when you plan this way is that your tasks stop being random. I need to post today, it becomes the post that supports the launch. And instead of thinking you should probably film something, it becomes this video builds demand for the offer that I'm releasing next month. Everything is connected to something. Your daily work stops feeling like maintenance and starts feeling like progress, because it actually is. The 5th system is repurposing. Now, you might be wondering what repurposing has to do with organization, but stick with me here, because the way you approach your content and your launches has a huge impact on how organized and in control your business feels day to day. And the single biggest thing that changed for me was no longer starting from scratch. If every piece of content and launch plan feels like a brand new undertaking, you're not just spending more time on those tasks, you're spending mental energy. So the fifth system is really simple. Build it once and reuse it. So the fix is simpler than most people think. So for example, once you've planned a launch that worked, you never need to build that plan again from scratch. You can duplicate it, tweak what needs changing for this particular launch, and off you go. The thinking's already been done, so the structure is already there. And that one habit of saving what worked and reusing it changes how your business feels over time. Because instead of every launch being this enormous undertaking that costs you weeks of planning energy, it becomes something you can move through much more quickly. Not by cutting corners, but by taking what you've already done and reapplying it in the future. And it's not just launches that you can do this with. I think when most people hear repurposing in terms of content, they think of reposting an old reel and hoping that no one notices, but that's not really what I mean. What I mean is making one piece of content work for you in multiple ways. So a carousel that you post on Instagram can become an email to your list, and then that email can be a blog post, and that blog post could be an idea for a long form video, and then that video can be clipped into 3 short form videos, and suddenly one idea, one single piece of thinking has given you a whole week's worth of content across different formats and different platforms. The principle underneath all of this is really simple. The more you systematize, the less you have to rely on motivation, because motivation is unreliable. Even when you love what you do, there will always be weeks where you're tired or life is full. But when your business is built on systems rather than motivation, you keep moving even in the seasons where the energy isn't there. And don't get me wrong, these systems don't do the actual work for you. You still have to show up and actually create the content. But there is a huge difference between sitting down to create something when you already know what it's about and who it's for and how it connects to everything else you're putting out there, versus sitting down with a blank page and no idea where to start. And my version of creating content and planning launches is so much lighter. And when you can multiply that across every week of your year, you start to understand what organization can actually give you. It's not just about tidier folders, it's about having more energy for the actual work. And I'm going to give you a bonus system because I think I said 5 at the start of this video, and I think we're actually on system 6. So this last bonus system ties all of this together, because you can have the best intention, the clearest goals, and the most repeatable systems, and it can still feel scattered. And usually when that happens, it comes down to one thing: knowing exactly where your business is at. So this is something I used to waste a huge amount of time on without even realizing it. And that's figuring out where I actually am with everything. Not in a big picture sense, but on any given afternoon. Like, what's in progress, what's waiting on something, what haven't I finished yet, what's urgent and what can wait. Because without a clear answer to those questions, every time you sit down to work, you end up spending the first 20 minutes just trying to remember where you left off. And that's time and energy that disappears before you've even started. And the habit that changed this for me was really straightforward. I stopped keeping tasks as one long to-do list and started breaking them down properly. Because plan a launch on a to-do list tells you nothing. It doesn't tell you what you've already done, what's next, or how far away you are from finishing. But here's what used to happen when I tried to fix that. I would start breaking things down. Like, I'd write the sales page, film the announcement video, plan the email sequence, and then somewhere in the middle of the list, I'd also have reply to that customer email, or order more packaging, or fix the banner on my website. And suddenly my launch plan and my general business admin were all tangled up in one chaotic list. So I'd start a new list and then a new one for like a different part of my business, and I'd end up with these multiple lists where I didn't really know where to start or how to keep track of all the spinning plates. So the fix isn't more lists, it's having a separate space for separate parts of the business. So the launch tasks live with the launch, the content tasks live with the content, and the general admin has its own home. And within each of those, the tasks are broken down into actual steps. So you always know exactly where you are within each part of your business. And what I love about being able to see all of that at a glance inside Artova, with the priorities, the statuses, the due date, is that nothing is hiding in your head. It's visible and trackable. And when your whole business is clear and categorized, it stops feeling like something you're constantly trying to catch up with, and it starts feeling like something you're actually in control of. So if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. And by now you'll have seen that I use Artova to organize everything in my creative business. So I built Artova for creative business owners who were in the same mess that I was, carrying the business in their head, starting from scratch every week, working hard but not always moving forward, and feeling like the problem was them rather than the absence of a proper system. So Artova is that workspace that I use every single day to run my business. The ideas, the goals, the launches, the content, the tasks, the big picture, and it's built in a visual way that really works for creative minds. And if you want to try it for yourself, there is a 7-day free trial with full access to everything. And if any part of what I've talked about in this video has felt familiar, then I'd really love for you to have a look at it and see how it could work for your creative business. I'll leave the link in the description, or just go to artova.io to start your free trial. Now, because you're still watching, I would love to hear from you in the comments. What is the thing that takes up the most mental energy for your business right now? Let me know below. I really love connecting in the comments, so let's start a conversation. And if you've got the systems in place, but you're still figuring out which income streams are actually worth building around them, go watch this video next. Just click here to watch.